And we are live again. Welcome, everyone. Today we have one of my favorite developers. I can say this publicly, Ido from Israel, but this is not my interview. But we will talk about how to make a pull request review. So we are here also to answer all your questions. If you have questions about what a PR is, what stands for, and also I'd like to start with the introduction, explaining what is the difference maybe between Git and GitHub, because this is one of the things that I think that it's really confusing for someone who just got started. Let me see. I see Avnesh. Just a second. Hey Avnesh, how's it going? Ido, how are you? I mean Ido in the comments. How are you, Ido?
Hey Francesco, I'm great. Thank you very much. How are you in this lovely day?
I feel great, and of course, happy belated birthday for yesterday. But I think I will celebrate also today a bit. So before we start, tell me, a little bit about that, and then we'll
Yeah,
start.
so my wife arranged this kind of birthday festival for me.
Nice,
So it started yesterday on my my official birthday, and then
nice.
today we are going to celebrate with some friends, and tomorrow we are going to hotel together for the weekend. Hey Chris,
Perfect.
great to have you here.
Perfect. It's going to last for a while this birthday, and I think this is also a pretty important one, right? I see
Yeah.
some swag. Let's show some swag. There we go. Nice, nice, perfect. Okay, yes. So, okay, Ido. So, I think that we can start if we have any question about that. But let's start by talking a bit, and then we will show your screen, and then we can talk. Maybe I don't know if we have something that we can review, but it's more about showing the process. So this is especially for the beginners, and also to show something that we are currently working on Daily.dev. So it's also a good opportunity for you to see the behind the scenes of Daily.dev.
Yeah.
So yes, so Ido, let's start with Git, because I think that when someone asks me like, what's the most important tool that you should learn as a developer, I don't say JavaScript, I don't say even Docker, but I say Git is maybe the most underrated. Maybe if you are just getting started with development, you don't. It's hard to step into Git like the first week. Usually, you discover this after 1 month, 2 months. I don't know if it has been the same for you, but maybe some years ago, something like that didn't even exist. So let's talk a bit about Git and what is that. I can also try to help you. Let's just have a chat together. Hey.
Yeah, maybe I will need your help here, Francesco. But anyway, I think like I will start with one of the strengths of Git before explaining it, and it's so underrated. I think because it's such a great tool that you don't even notice that you are working with it because it just works. You know, usually developer tools that are so great. They provide their service without you even knowing that. Um, and Git enables us to manage source code in a distributed way, let's say. It gives me the possibility to work on the same code as you and as Chris and Lee, and we can work together on the same code base, and then each and every one apply their own changes to the code, and then we push the changes to a centralized server. It could be GitHub, GitLab, any other solution, and then we can sync all these changes between us and solve conflicts and whatnot.
Perfect. So since I'm a developer advocate, let me play the devil's advocate role. So, but why do we need something like this? Can't we just share the code with our friends, maybe per mail, or maybe I don't know, we go by car at their house and we share the code with a pen drive? Is this possible or not?
Yeah, of course, this is possible, but obviously it requires a lot of efforts and time. And imagine the situation where, for example, we work on the same file. So we have this index.html file, and I apply my changes and you apply your changes. I, for example, change only the title of the page and you change something inside the text of the page. And then we did it on the same time. We now want to synchronize our versions together. So how do you know what I changed, what you changed, whether it conflicts each other? So once you work in once you work in once you work with a team, you know that it's not only yourself. It gets complicated to share code, and Git comes to solve exactly this.
Yes, exactly. And until it's just maybe a capital letter, you can just send a message to your friend. But if you start writing, I don't know, like methods, or someone is focused on, like the comments or something else, it really starts to get really confusing. So now this is a very important question, and sometimes I see some people are confused. What's the difference between Git and GitHub? Because the title of this video, it was how to make a poor APR review. We will use GitHub because it's one of the famous one. But what's the difference? Because sometimes people are confused.
This is actually a great question. I agree. You saw many times like people can't tell what's the difference, and honestly, Git is like the platform. It's the tool that you use to manage your code or to version your code. And then Git, the way it works and the architecture of Git is that every person or every platform is kind of a node, and it stores their own version of their code. And then you need to push your changes to a centralized server where all the other team members can get the changes and update their code base. And this is exactly where GitHub comes into place. So GitHub is the centralized server where we push all of our commits and codes once they are done, and then you and Chris and Lee and all the rest of the team can update their code base.
Perfect. This is a perfect definition. So Git is the tool, and GitHub is a platform with a web interface. It's cool, but I remember that in the past I used Git with a pen drive with my friends at the beginning. So we just pushed the repository on the pen drive, and we pass in the pen drive. I don't know. That sounds a bit dumb, but maybe we had some security issues, so we didn't want to share this. So we wanted to be full because we were not sure about where to share that. It was a lot of years ago. So maybe now GitHub is more famous. Okay, perfect. So imagine direct pushing instead of PR. You can do this, but then I can reach your house, and then we will talk about that. Of course, of course you can. Yeah. Nice. Okay, so the title, it was the review of APR. So if you want, when you want, you can share your screen. But why? So what is APR? Why do we need APR? Let's start from the basics. So we all can be set. And if you have any question, don't worry. There are no dumb questions. Just drop them in the chat now, so you can follow along. Thank you.
We are looking below to see all your questions.
Go. Come on. Yes, it will be. Yes. So what is a PR? What's the process, and why a PR?
Yeah, so PR stands for pull request. And why do we need this pull request and what it is exactly? So whenever we want to introduce a new change to our code base, so let's go back for my simple example. We have an index.html file, and we found a typo on the title of the page. So we want to fix it. So we create a new branch. We apply the fix, we remove the typo. Let's say you wrote Daily.dev with capital letter and you want to fix it.
That's not my case, but okay. Let's make an example.
Hope this is an imaginary case,
Exactly.
But anyway, you want to fix it. You want to write daily dev with lowercase. So you apply the fix, you commit the change, and then you push the branch to the remote server. Once you are there, you will get notified by GitHub that there is some change that has been made on this branch, and it will ask you to open a pull request. So you do that, you open a pull request, and then the reviewer, which can be the tech lead, it can be your team lead, it can be yourself, even if you are working on a project by your own. You will get this interface where you can see what was changed in this commits or in this branch, and you can compare it to the master branch or main branch, as it is now called. And then you can actually leave comments for people to see. So let's look at some example. Just a second.
Can I share your screen, okay?
Wait.
Perfect. We saved some personal data leak.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, yeah, you can.
Can I share? We're almost ready.
Yeah, you can do it now.
Nice. Yeah, because we.
Yeah.
Go on.
So let's have a look at a recent PR that we just merged. It was opened or created by Lee on our team. He's a software engineer, for people who don't know him.
We'll have him soon, I think.
Yeah.
So we present him to the public. So yes.
Yeah, definitely. He has so much to teach and to talk about, so it will be great to host him. So let's look at this PR. Although we just merged it, sorry, we can still learn a lot from the process. So once Lee opened this PR, he mentioned the Jira ticket that is relevant for this PR, and he explained all the things that he did. In this case, it has to do with GraphQL changes that he introduced for us to later on, we want to introduce the reading history feature. So he created the backend that will provide data for all of this. Hey, Bobby, great to have you.
Light mode. Yeah. Okay, so probably never make a poll to ban Ido.
Yeah, actually, although I'm a dark mode fan, I'm already used to GitHub on light mode, so sorry for blinding your eyes and for all this brightness, but stay with me, please.
I didn't know this before inviting him. I want to say this publicly.
Yeah, maybe I should resign now and go back home.
I don't know, but this is bad. Joking, come on.
Anyway, let's go back to the review. So Lee explains everything all about the changes that he proposes, and I can see all the commit history that is relevant to this PR, and then right here I can, on the files change tab, I can see all the changes. So for example, I can see that he introduced some changes to the tests, and I can see that he wrote new tests and etc. And for easy management, I can just click view.
Yes. So why do we have those red and green parts? I'm just trying to figure out some question. If you have some, just drop them.
Yeah. So red and green is all about new lines that the developer introduced compared to red lines, where these are the lines the developer deleted from the source code. So you can see basically he deleted the whole file in this change.
Nice.
But you asked, actually, Francesco, you asked why do we need a pull request, right?
Yeah, so maybe before we proceed, Ido, maybe if we can spend another 2 minutes maybe explaining if someone it's a bit overwhelmed by seeing this page. If you see this for the first time, it's a bit overwhelming. So maybe we have a conversation, commits, checks. This of course we can't make a Git crash course, or maybe we can if you want. We can another time. But please let me explain the the buttons at the top. What at least what do they mean? Yeah, as fast as you can, of course. Thank you.
Which buttons? This one?
Yeah, the
Or
conversation commits.
yeah. Okay. So the main tab for the PR is the conversation tab, and in there, what we can do is to see all the conversation that has been done on this PR, because the thing with pull request is that you want to leave comments. Like if you found some issue or you want to change something, you want to ask the developer to change something, so you can leave comments. So we can look at Chris's comments and see that he is suggesting to add one more test to increase the coverage of this PR of this new feature. And then Lee can reply to him, and I can blend in the conversation and add my 2 cents. And so in the conversation tab, we can easily see everything that we spoke of during this PR. And we have the commits tab, where in here we can see all the commits that Lee or anyone else done and pushed to this branch, and now they are part of this PR. So we can really investigate them. We can check the repository at this given commit, what the files look like, and we can see the changes that this commit presents. So this is the
Nice.
commit.
Nice. Just let me tell that using Git, like GitHub and Git, we can see the history of our project. So maybe we can also we should not be scared to delete some file, to change something, because everything is in the history. Now, I applied this some minutes ago. We had like a folder, and instead of keeping that in somewhere, maybe I deleted that, but we still have the track in the GitHub repository. So this is interesting. So can we say, Ido, that GitHub is the social media for the developers, so we can chat there, basically?
You can say it's a social media for PRs, maybe.
Yeah, and also and of course there are also sometimes there is some drama. Sometimes people are just talking. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if GitHub will ever become a social media. Maybe in the future we will have like GitHub stories or something like that. For now, you can't DM directly a person who you follow. That maybe could be a great feature. I don't know if that will be the course of the good thing. Yeah. I see a lot of people from India. So with this time, Bulgaria, nice. I want to come there. Maybe next year. I don't know. What do you look for when you are reviewing a Okay, so this is a great question by Chris. Chris is a software engineer of Daily.dev. For who doesn't know him, and we have made an episode with him last week, so you can also check that. So, what do you look for when you are reviewing a PR? I think this is a personal question because it depends on the reviewer, of course.
Yeah, I agree that this is a personal question, and most of the time this also concerns, the whole team, because usually the team agrees on some principles that they want to review or they care to follow. So for me, I wrote down a few principles that I look for once I do the code review. So the first one is reusability. It also involves with readability and maintainability of the code, and it's like a sanity check or a rough go through the code. see that everything makes sense. You want to like read it like a book, right? It should be simple. It should be very easy to read. So if you ever come back at later point in the future, or someone new has to read this code, it should be very explicit and very understandable, readable. And also, in terms of reusability, you want to reuse the code as much as possible when it makes sense. So if you see certain lines that are repeated in this way or another, you want to suggest the developer to maybe create a function that does exactly this, and then they can reuse it on this PR. It can be also, if we talk about React, it can be maybe introducing a new custom hook. So it will be easier for other components in the future to also use this functionality if it makes sense. It can be a function, it can be even an endpoint, right? If we are talking about API or something like this. So it can be an endpoint, new endpoint that you want to present just for the reusability purposes.
Yeah, perfect. We have a question, if you can help me or I can go with them. So explain about Git Rebates. So we are not just here for Git, but maybe just to have an idea. If you can just give him a very small idea. Yeah, go.
So Git Rebates, you want to use it when there is a situation that you created a branch. You created your own branch. Let's call it branch A, okay? And this branch A, you worked on it for a day or two, and in the meantime, other people already introduced new changes to the main branch. And what happens is that you now want these commits or these new changes in the main in your branch, in branch A. So what you can do either two options. Either you merge all the changes from the main to your A branch, or you can rebase your branch. And what happens when you rebase is that you basically change the history of your branch. It just puts all the commits that introduced on the main branch on the right position in the timeline of your branch. Instead of just putting them as the last commit, it blends them in the right position. I rarely use rebase. Most of the time I just do squash and merge because I don't really like to mess with history.
So you agree with Avnesh as far as possible from Git Rebase. For example, in some companies they want to use Git Rebase. So I think Git is maybe one of the most powerful tool, or maybe the most powerful tool for developers. And this is so powerful that you can choose your favorite workflow. You can talk about maybe the clone, the forks, but I don't know if people are interested into that. We can make another episode. If you write this in the chat, if you like this Git, which I think that is really the basic. I do squash and merge too. Yeah, let's make a poll about merge versus rebase. This will be epic. Perfect. Thank you, Ido. Yeah, please go on in sharing this interface. And yes, and so about your process, your personal process or review. Thank you.
Yeah. So just to close, the points that I look at once I do the review, and then we can go back to the exact process so people will have all their need. So we talked about reusability and readability, and then I also look for performance because sometimes once you write the code, you look at it from one perspective, and then once you review, you can see the bigger picture of everything comes together, and you can recognize performance bottlenecks and point them out during the review and ask the reviewee to change this. And you want to also check for test coverage. So, for example, in this case, Lee introduces here two things. One is the read history query, and then the second is the mutation to hide a post from the read history. So we want to see in this PR not only the feature, but also the equivalent tests that check that this feature is doing whatever it needs to do. And with all the different edge cases that it comes with. So this is very important to look at tests. Some people can overlook it, but
Nice.
keep in mind.
Nice.
And,
so go on.
And like two more points real quick is if this is a complex feature or if it's a bug fix, usually I would like to validate that the developer actually checked that this solves the issue. It could be with manual QA, or it could be with a preview deployment that I can personally check and see whether the issue is fixed or that the feature is and that the feature works as planned. And lastly, we want to check for conventions in the code. So you want to see that the changes are aligned with our internal conventions and code policy and all of this. Usually it is taken care by static tools like ESLint, but sometimes there are glitches and holes that ESLint and static tools can discover, so you want to check it manually.
Yeah, perfect. Just a couple of things very fast. I have opened a poll, merge versus rebase, so I'll answer to that. And Chris asks, do you review your own code in GitHub before opening the PR? For me, the answer is yes.
So this is tricky. Depends how confident I feel at this point. At the point of pushing the branch, the code. Mostly, I try at least to do a sanity check to my code once I open the PR. But yeah, sometimes I'm being bad and not reviewing my own code, which is not advised, but yeah.
Yeah, I just want to say that this will stay forever on YouTube. So okay, maybe now we can always turn this video down. So you are lucky that you are watching this live. Good question. Wouldn't harm in reviewing, but mostly we don't. Yes, mostly this. Yes. I have a question before we go on. Before I forget, Ido, what's something that gets you reject the PR immediately? Like in exam, you get you fail the exam immediately. So is there something apart seeing some public API? Of course, that's not that's just a phone call in that case. But what is something that say, okay, I'll keep reviewing this, but I'm really sure that I will not accept that?
So if the PR doesn't have any tests, so usually I will not approve it because tests make sure that this feature or this bug fix won't happen again or works properly, unless it's just a type of fix or like text fix, design or something. So most of the time, if the PR doesn't have any tests, probably I will request changes.
Yeah, of course. Maybe let's talk about what's in this interface, because if someone is not familiar with this, maybe we have seen like hundreds or maybe thousands of these, but if you see this for the first time, you just see a list and some emojis, I see. So what about the checks, the two checks at the top? I think they were. If you can scroll the top.
So honestly, I rarely use this interface. These checks are have to do with GitHub actions, I think, that are associated with this repository. But there is a full list of checks that you can look at, which is this. We have 7 checks on the API, and 2 of them are like static analysis of the code base. So to check if there are no vulnerabilities and no, outdated packages and all of this. And then we have like 4 checks that comes from Circle CI, and then another check that comes from our contributor license bot to make sure every contributor already signed this CLA agreement. And before I jump into the checks themselves, checks are here to make sure that the PR is aligned with several criteria that we want to put. So it can be that the PR is as all the tests successful, or whether we can build properly the code base. Maybe it's building a Docker and we want to try if we can build a Docker and we can run ESLint there. We can put many automated checks that will evaluate our PR and that can confirm that nothing bad will happen once we merge this PR.
Nice. I have one good friend of mine who works at Circle CI. So if we want to do something with him, maybe in the future, I'll invite him somewhere. Kyle, yes. Nice, nice. So if you have any other question, just drop them in the comments. Remember to answer to the poll about merge versus rebase. Let's see what's winning. Merge is winning, yeah. 57% against 29% rebase. So
I need to answer this. 1 second. Let me jump in. Yeah. Of course,
this is
I'm merging, not rebasing. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Nice, nice. So I see that this is already merged. So maybe in the future we will also show the process. I think I made a live stream a couple of months ago when we merged the PR live. That's exciting, by the way.
Yeah.
Especially if you have something which automatically rebuilds your project. You can. This is another topic that maybe I don't know. Maybe this could also be a good topic. Like we can talk about Vercel, the deployment, of course, Docker, Kubernetes. Let's see. This year, the next year, I think it will be interesting.
Yeah.
Perfect.
We can throw out many buzzwords. So just write the buzzwords that you would like to learn about, and maybe we can.
Yeah, we are proficient in everything. Since we have some followers on Twitter, we know everything. Is there a max size for a PR in your organization? Which is Daily.dev, by the way.
Not officially, but I think that our last biggest PR was the filtering experience, new filtering experience. That this one was massive. It was like almost 8,000, I think, changes. And lucky for us, we knew it before that this is going to be very big. So we split this PR into smaller PRs, and then because we couldn't deploy all of them separately, we wanted to orchestrate this deployment. So we introduced an intermediate branch, and we, instead of merging everything to main, we merged it to the intermediate PR, and then once everything was ready, we could merge it back to main. Otherwise, we couldn't review this PR probably because it's too big, and it's you just you get a blue screen to your mind once you see these all changes in one place.
Yeah, of course, if you have Windows in your mind, that this is going to happen very often. I think I have Windows in my mind too. Yes. Is there a rule for the amount of reviewers versus the size of PR? I don't know if there is some written rule. I think that usually the answer is it depends. But do you have something?
So actually, we don't have this kind of rules where we change the amount of reviewers versus the size. But in daily dev, usually the policy is that we ask for 2 reviewers, unless it's something very, very, very small. So maybe this is what Chris is referring. Like if it's just a typo or something, a CSS fix, then usually just 1 reviewer is enough. But most of the features are being reviewed by two developers, and this, we try to make sure that we get a few perspectives and a few opinions on each PR, because everyone looks at things differently.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ido. So, okay, so let's show some other stuff about this PR, maybe what we had. I don't know if you can, I don't know, is this a pro account of GitHub or not?
What do you mean? Not sure.
This GitHub account, does it have the network lines? I think this is interesting to show. Don't know if you know what I'm talking about.
No idea, no.
Is this a pro version of GitHub?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I have the upgrade deal, so probably no.
Okay, no. Maybe it's in this next case. Next time we'll show this. Is versioning part of the PR workflow?
So I guess versioning, you mean the extension version. So it's usually not part of the PR workflow. What happens usually once we decide to release a new version, I just go ahead, increase the package.json version, add a tag to Git and push it, and then release the version. I push it directly to master. And on the other projects like the web app, the API, all the backend, none of this is versioned whatsoever. Everything on master or main goes immediately to production. So the extension is the only thing that is getting versioned.
Nice. Thank you. So, and now let's talk about the good parts. So, what do you think is what does make you smile during the pull request review? Something that you say, okay, so I know that this is a very good part, and this is gonna stay in this code for a lot of time. Nothing, probably.
So what makes me smile is to see a PR that was carefully, solved, the different edge cases, and also to see, to feel like I'm reading it very easy. Like if I go over the PR and I'm like, oh, this is like, I immediately get the point of what this PR introducing. So this is very good and will probably make me smile. But the best thing that could make me smile on a PR is to see 0 on the green part and many an I number on the red part, because this means we are removing lots of code, which is always a blessing.
Yeah, once I think I said this on Twitter sometimes, that I changed a file and removed like something like 6,000 of lines of code. One of the best weeks of my life. I had to refactor a very super legacy project. at the end of the week, I removed, I can't remember, but it was 6 or 7,000 of lines of code. Best week of my life as a developer. I felt so
Yeah,
good that
definitely.
you can't
Like
imagine.
whenever I see a massive deletion of code, I'm like, oh yeah, we did it. Less code to maintain and to test.
Yeah, because the code complexity is not linear. If you have the double of the code, you have not just the double. It will be nice to have just the double of complexity. The complexity is
Yeah.
exponential, so it's very good when you can remove some parts. And I think that also this is related to reusability. I think that the more the code is, if the code is really clean, it's, since you understand that pretty well, it's also more reusable in the future. You say, okay, so this part of code does this. Can also become maybe a separate service. We can talk about microservices maybe in another another time because we are close to 1 hour. I don't know if we can make it in 18 minutes, but yes, it's very important to keep your code as clean as possible. So this was a great answer. Perfect, Ido. So okay, so I don't know if you want to check something else about this repository. We can also show how this repository looks, or yes, or if you have any other questions about Git or GitHub, the difference. We are here for you. So yes. And how many repositories do we have at Daily.dev? We want to show in the meanwhile. Maybe if we have something else, I don't know.
So we have like many of them. Different
Nice.
things, different actions, docs, which is pretty new,
Yeah.
infrastructure. So many services and many repositories. So it's 23.
Nice.
And we also sponsoring.
Yeah,
On
this
our
is something new. Sometimes, usually, 90% of my live streams, I have them free code camp mug, but it's okay. I use this the next time. Probably Quincy Larson will be happy. And so we are officially sponsoring Free Code Camp, which is an amazing project. By the way, just check it out. And yes, so this is great. Okay, so about file change, I think we have seen everything about this.
One thing maybe
Yeah.
that we want to show is how to put a comment, right, on something.
I think this is a very important part. I think
Yeah.
because especially yes, sponsoring noise. I think especially for the person who made the PR, uh, having some feedback, some comments. I think it's great. And maybe I don't know. Maybe the first time you can also feel, I don't know, like offended, but that the other person is just working for you, and it's also trying to explain something, of course, their point of view. This can also be wrong. I remember once I got a PR reviewed by two different people. They said that almost the total opposite things. So it also depends of the reviewer. That was kind of funny. And yes, so yeah. So about this, what can you say about the comments in PRs?
So let's say I'm reviewing now. I'm
Yeah.
reviewing.
Yeah, by the way, Avnesh says something super interesting. Since Daily.dev is an open source project, you can check that, maybe make a PR. We have not, it's my fault that I have not thought about this. We could have say this publicly. Maybe next time we can do something together. We can make an episode too. This is a great idea, Avnesh. We can do this. We'll do this in the future. So if you have 5 minutes to do something, we will check this. Even if you just change a letter, that would be nice. We can also do this just for fun. Okay, go for that, Avinash. Good luck.
Let us know if you need any help. We would love to help you out and guide you.
Yeah, this would have been a good idea. Okay, so about comments.
So let's say I get this PR and I think, oh, this line, let's say I think we should name it differently, right? I don't like this reading history name. So what I can do is that I can click here and then I get this UI where I can write down in Markdown and say, for example, hey Lee, or usually you don't start with hey, but you can say, let's think on a different, more explicit name for this object, for example. And then I can hit the start review, and Lee will get an email and a notification that I drop down a comment, and he can reply immediately or whenever he gets the time. I can also, for example, if it's not one line, if it's multiple lines, I can hit the plus and drag it to the relevant part, and then I can put the same comment, and you can see here this remark, this note that says what is the exact part that I'm commenting on, and I can put the same comment. I can add checklist, I can add numbers, lists, mention people, and everything that comes with Markdown.
You can also write an article, I don't know, in Markdown as a comment if you want.
Exactly. Sometimes I like to loop in another developer from the team to see what he thinks about, right? So if going back to the naming, so I can say, let's choose a different name, and then say, Chris, what do you think about it? Right, so then both Chris and Lee will get a notification, and we can talk about it on this UI.
This is interesting.
Yeah.
Perfect. I like that. So, and also I think that the comments are very powerful, of course, for big pull requests, because for example, for me, if I need to change something, I need to answer to all the comments. Like you can also start a discussion, or you can say maybe, okay, done, or I've done this, good idea. Yeah, remember to be polite on pull requests in all the comments, but it's I think it's a very powerful tool to develop something, let's say, together. Otherwise, I don't know, I should like make a call, show you something, but I think this makes the integration of the new code asynchronous, which is great, of course. Yeah, so you can make this, and when you have time, when the other person has time, they can take a look. And of course, there could be some demo when there is some good feature, especially on design of stuff. But this makes really the workflow way better. So I can't really imagine of going back to something without this.
Yeah, definitely. Especially the Daily Dev team is a remote team, fully distributed team. So all the async tools that we can use to make our workflow much more efficient. So we embrace them the best we can, and GitHub is one of them. It helps us, as you mentioned, do this PR workflow fully distributed and on different time zones and whatnot.
Yeah. Have you always used the GitHub since the beginning on Daily.dev?
Yeah.
Nice.
From day zero, we started rolling out with GitHub.
Nice.
Yeah.
Is there? I don't know, because now just a question, just for out of my curiosity about GitHub. Is there any maybe repository which has been removed in the past? I don't know, since in the beginning, or it has always been that repository since the beginning?
So we have a few repositories that were archived due to legacy code that was replaced during the history of Daily Dev. So, for example, we had our previous application or extension, like version 2, was written in a completely different code base and completely different structure. It was not even written in React. So on version 3, we created a new repository and archived the old one.
Yes, this is a really great point because sometimes I also see on social media that we just talking about the best framework, what should we use, let's use the most advanced tools. That's correct if you just want to have a random chat. But when you have to do some real world project, you need to be focused on something else because otherwise you'll never get started. Basically, if you wait for the best version, if you always want to upgrade, you'll never get started. You will get stuck in upgrading your framework. So since Daily.dev, let's don't say that that's old, but it's a mature project now. We can say this, I think. It shows that it has an evolution, not just talking about the commits, but also about the history of versions. So it has been also almost rewritten. Maybe not the idea, but the code base has been built like 2 times. So since we have the version 3.
Mm-hmm. History and evolution is part of every project, and the important thing at the beginning is just to get started and not get confused by deciding which technology to use, as you mentioned already. But just go ahead and write something, hack something around, make it work, and in the future you can always change that decision.
Yeah, maybe we should always start from the idea. Then maybe you can take like 1 day, 2 days to just explore some opportunities. For example, we did this with the documentation. I've been exploring some opportunities, some different ideas, and I ended up with using Docusaurus. But it was worth, I think, because we are close to release something. But of course, I haven't studied for 2 months before starting. Maybe that would not have been really worth. Why don't you use JS Doc or TS Doc? I know Java Doc, and I also don't know JS Doc, which is basically I think something which would like to replace that. So is that any special reason? I don't know because I haven't checked everything, but what can I say?
So as of now, we haven't encountered in a situation where it was a problem. Maybe only in one file which is very complicated, and we just need to refactor it and make it more explicit. But most of the time, the code and the naming, we try to make them very explicit. So we feel like this is a bit redundant to keep it updated with the JS doc and TS doc. But in case we see, that new team members have a hard time navigating in the code base, we would probably introduce some solution to this.
Yeah, I think it depends on the number of people who are working on this. Also the complexity. Of course, we can have different opinions. Like you should always comment, you should never comment. We can have different opinions, right? People who hate comments. People who just we need that, and yes, but I think it depends on the sides.
According to our experience, few months ago, I was the only developer on Daily.dev. I was the only one writing code, and then Chris and Lee joined on board. And I think, according to what they say and how it seems, then it was easy it was kind of easy for them to onboard the code, and honestly, they deployed their first feature on their first day. So I think it's a good sign for easily navigating in the code base.
It is. Absolutely it is. Yeah, there we go with the technical question. Do you think you all should switch to Yarn? So first of all, what is Yarn? What are we talking about? Because maybe we can just answer. By the way, I'm using Yarn locally now for the documentation. So yes,
So Yarn is Facebook's or Meta's alternative to NPM,
love that.
and it's a package manager for Node.js and the JavaScript ecosystem. And I tend to use Yarn before, but now I moved to NPM ever since version 6 or something. I just find it easier to use NPM, and when I want to do auditing for vulnerabilities, it has the tool built in, very easy to keep all the dependencies up to date. So yeah.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, you can use whatever you want. For example, I can answer to this because now, for example, I'm using Yarn locally for the documentation, but it's another tool that you have to install. So, for example, Nimrod now is starting to make some pull requests on the documentation, but I don't want him to install other tools. So I want to make the process as simple as possible. I also would like to do that. So probably I'll switch again to npm. I think the Yarn existed because npm it was very slow at the
Yeah.
beginning, so it was a matter of speed. Now I don't see that huge difference anymore. So this is one of the reasons. For example, usually in my tutorials I never use Yarn, for example, because some people say, okay, what is Yarn now? Because I have Node.js, I have npm. What is Yarn now? And also, for example, if you create a Docker file, if you want to use Yarn, you need to install that. I don't know if some versions of Node they already have Yarn by default, but I'm sure that from some older versions they don't have Yarn installed by default. So you should install the Yarn inside the image. So it's a bit it's another thing that you have to think about. Just yes. Okay, legacy pure dependent. Yeah, the less dependencies that you have, I try to have the less dependencies because they will cause problems in the
Um,
future for sure.
just a sec, I'll be right back. Okay, 1 second.
Yeah, no problem, no problem. Nice. Now it's just me on the Daily.dev YouTube channel. There we go. I'm here. I made it, basically. Nice. We're also close to 1 hour. So this hour really flies. If you have any feedback, whatever you want about, would you like to talk about? There we go. I stayed for 10 seconds alone on the official Daily.dev
Uh,
YouTube channel. I made it. Ido.
Sorry for ditching you. The problem with virtual events that sometimes the physical events interrupt. So
I know that. This is why I usually go before. but maybe after you make a lot of live streams, you know that. There we go. That was fast. Nice. Yeah, I would have liked to stay a little bit more, but
I have
maybe
to
next
check
time.
the recorded YouTube video to see what you said during the time I was not here.
Exactly. This is the idea, and you have to spot the point and leave a comment, Ido, as you also would like need to do that. So we are close to 1 hour. I don't want to make this too long. Thank you, Ido, because we are really showing. As you can see, you're just showing our open source repositories. We have shown our pull request, our merge. Maybe it would have been nice to merge something, but let's keep this for another time. And I think that another thing that we can talk about is the deployment part. I would love to see that. I would love to help there. Also, yeah, yeah, Avnesh, you are slow. Nice. It's a good guy. Okay, perfect. So, I just want to say that this weekly dev hour now it will be on Thursday, so maybe we'll be hopefully live also next week. And we are here to answer to your questions. And you can also make questions about Daily.dev, not just the topic of the week. You can suggest any new topic. You can do whatever you want. Thank you, Ido. Your explanations have been really insightful. Yeah, especially on difference, GitHub. At least we have shown the process of how we do this. This dog is getting crazy. Okay. Okay, perfect. So we are done. Please remember to leave a like to this video. Ido, save me for 10 seconds. I have the window open. I'll come back soon. The stage is yours.
So thank you everyone for joining. Make sure, as Francesco said, to subscribe, to like this video. We will now that Francesco is with us on the team, you will see many new videos coming up very often.
Yes,
and this was me saving Francesco in real time. Thank you.
Yes, he said video. I just came back. That was very fast. Yeah, really enjoyed this. I think it's also one of the reasons why I joined the Daily.dev is that you create a lot of good content already. I love the monthly dev episode. I don't know when is there is the new one scheduled already.
Yes, I will let you know what is the date.
Nice. So soon. Thank you also for staying here.
On the 23rd of November.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I have an appointment on the dentist that day, but I'll see that anyway. So perfect. So yeah, I like this idea also to sharing content. I don't know how many companies can do this so transparently. The European Space Agency, not for sure, and so nice, Ido. I really enjoyed this. We need to make other episodes. And also other stuff, of course. We need to do something for. Usually, I say like at the end of the video, we should make a collaboration, but in this case, maybe that's no need. That's the need. So that will be for sure. Perfect. We're done. Bye, everyone. We are close. Yeah, just three more minutes, but that's good. That's good anyway. Yeah. Remember to like this video, comment this video. You can share it. You can share your ideas. Yeah, basically whenever you want. We'll try to stay have this schedule every single week, and perfect. Have a nice day, and if you are from Israel, don't apply today because it's Thursday. Have a nice weekend, Ido, and happy belated birthday.
Thank you very much, Francesco. It was a blast.
Perfect. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everyone. Bye-bye.